Can I ask a question while we're waiting for everybody to get back?
Okay.
If the kids are not showing any signs of anxiety, is it safe to assume that they're fine? That nothing is going on?
Um, Michal, I think that, again, using the same idea of having a conversation, overall, yes, it is. If you would like to have a conversation just as a check-in and say, hey, everybody's okay. How you doing individually with each child? Sure, why not? It also gives them the message that okay to talk about it. So having a conversation is always a good option. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the power cord for my computer.
I just
I
want to
also think,
follow up.
oh yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's complicated because on one hand, our kids are so excited that there's no school. So I think in many ways it could be masking some of the anxiety. And if you're doing a good enough job making them feel safe, that they have a structure, it's surprising that more kids are not reacting with anxiety to the situation. Yael Rosenbaum, please.
I was just gonna follow up with what Yaakov said about when to worry if your kid has had mood changes. I think what we look for generally is a change in the severity of their mood and the duration of the mood. So what that means in plain English is we're looking at if there's significant changes to how they relatively are usually. So are they more sad than usual? Are they more irritable than usual? And are they more sad or irritable for more time than they usually are? Those are the two things that we would look out for. And if so, are those changes also associated with problems with appetite, like either they're not as hungry as they usually are, or they're eating too much, like overeating, eating to cope, with their stress, and additionally with sleep. We want to check if how they're sleeping, because a lot of kids will exhibit sleep problems if they're also having mood problems. So if you checked off all those boxes and that is the case, then that's definitely a time to reach out and say, okay, I think my kid needs more support right now because they're going through more of a hard time than other kids are.
And to go back to what Yael Miller was saying, most kids are pretty resilient, and I think it's a little bit of mood changes is okay, and if you don't see a mood change, if kids seem to be happy, that's okay. That's a great thing. If they say that they're happy, they're acting not happy, then that's a different story. But if they're acting happy and they say that they're happy, then that's great. Then you're consider yourself lucky that your kid is adjusting to it, and that you as a parent are doing a good job communicating to them that despite the changes, things are okay. And that's the message that we always try to give our kids. Yes, it's different now. It's unusual now. It's going to be okay, and we're going to do it together. And if you've done a good job communicating that to your children, then they could actually, yes, be happy. Okay. Next. Ideas for the benefits of getting daily exercise. Yael Rosenbaum?
Okay, so I sort of feel like if there might be some eye rolling going on right now, even though I can't see your faces, because it's like obviously, but it was a topic that we put on the questionnaire on the form, and people wanted to hear about it. I think it's widely appreciated that exercise is crucial, not only for our physical health, but also for our mental health. But also the ideas for how to get exercise, given that we're so limited in how far we can leave our house. We have to be super creative. So regular exercise not only is good for our health, but also improves the quality of our sleep, and it can enhance our mood tremendously. And it's arguably the best activity that we could do to lower our stress. A lot of people report being able to concentrate better after they exercise, and it's also can be really fun. So, that being said, we're limited to indoor activities, but that can include yoga or other fitness videos. Go Noodle is a popular app for younger kids. It has really fun like dance moves that they can learn. Putting on fun music and having a dance party, making a game of running up and down the stairs. My son has made it a habit of riding his bike 100 meters outside our house, back and forth, like accruing kilometers upon kilometers that way. So whatever it is that you would enjoy, definitely is something that we highly recommend working into your daily or at least weekly schedule. But I just parenthetically wanted to say that if exercise doesn't speak to you, it's important to find other resources to help you feel good and feel relaxed and grounded, because many of us have lost those resources in our lives, like whether it was that we used to go out to the gym or go out with friends or whatever it was that we did that filled us, that recharged our battery. We're sort of like not really recognizing it in this way, but we've lost that, and there's some sort of like mourning process that we have to really acknowledge that we've lost these resources in our lives, because I think just recognizing that and admitting that to ourselves takes some of the emotional drain out of it, to say, okay, I used to do X, Y, and Z and I don't have that anymore, so now what? Now we need to come up with new ones. And if everyone in the family can come up with new resources that work for them, whether it's playing an instrument or listening to music or tefillah or cooking creative things in the kitchen or whatever it is, all of a sudden, like everybody creates their new resources that we have for this time, that may overlap. Family members might have similar resources or everyone can have their own. But it's good to just put thought into what that can be, so that you have that to draw on. In Hebrew, the word for mashabim is the word for resources in Hebrew, but they also use the word ogen, which means like an anchor when you're at sea and it's tumultuous and choppy waters. Like the ogen is what keeps you centered and grounded, and so it's really important for us all to find what those are for ourselves, because they will vary across individuals tremendously.
Absolutely.
I
I love that. I want
Go
to
ahead,
add also that something that is so mind-blowing, but it's so important and obvious at the same time, that you should only pick things that you as a parent will enjoy, because often our kids have a million ideas of what would be fun for them, but you're only going to be motivated and excited to do the things that you enjoy. So if you love dancing, then put on a Zumba video on YouTube and do that with your kids. And it's so true that excitement is contagious. And when you're excited about something, so if you love bike riding or if you love basketball, whatever it is that you love, or you want to do a push-up competition with your kids, that will get them excited. So don't pick things that they like necessarily. Pick things more that you're into, and the excitement will be contagious. And if not, if you're going to wake up each morning and it's going to be a chore, like I have to check off the box on exercise because research shows that it's healthy and important for me, which it is, but you'll be much more successful if it's something that you as a parent enjoy.
two things just to close out with what you said. I'm talking about enjoying. There are also many. Yael Rosenbaum mentioned Go Noodle, right? As an app that has things, and there's free yoga apps and all sorts of stuff. But there's sometimes you can even find ways of exercising by doing things that we normally would, like if somebody has on the Xbox Just Dance or other things like that gets you moving. Hey, that's exercise. It can be fun at the same time. It doesn't have to be exercise. It can be doing something. Also, even if it's not specifically exercise, it is really good to get outside every day. Even if it's on a porch or just, with in front of the house with a mask on. It's good to get outside, get some sun. Sometimes we feel that I don't really feel like going outside. There's too much to do. There's so many different things. Go outside. Take some time and go outside. Get some sun. Even if it's not, just get change of scenery is really important. So it's not necessarily exercise, but it is important to get outside every day. And if your feelings are telling you not to do it, then do it anyways, and you'll see the difference. Okay.
To our final and most important topic.
Yael Miller?
Okay, how to stay calm. Is everybody calm out there? Please write in again if we haven't addressed all of your topics and anything specific about staying calm. We spoke about this last night. Yael Rosenbaum and Jakob and I got together on Zoom to discuss some of these topics. And we were discussing the importance of taking time out. And I told them both that I feel extremely passionate about this topic because often our kids think that time out is a punishment. And I don't know about you, but as a parent, time out is a tremendous reward. And it's like the time I look forward to most in the day is time by myself. And it's so wonderful to get this opportunity to teach. Again, it's like this little life lab that we could teach our kids that it's not a punishment, it's a necessity. So just keep repeating that in your head as a mantra. It's not a punishment, it's a necessity. So if I'm losing it, if I'm irritable, if I'm losing patience and I'm being nasty to the other people in the family, then I need to go and take a time for myself, and I can go and do the things that calm me down. And this is an amazing opportunity to teach our kids what helps me calm down. What do I enjoy? What makes my whole body, and pay attention to the sensations in my body, what makes me feel much calmer? What do I look forward to doing? Like, what do I secretly wish that everybody would leave me alone so I can go and do? And I put this painting behind me because I was saying how it's a paint by numbers. I've been working on it for a few months now, but these weeks have been giving me time. I love to just sit, put on music and do my painting. And our kids have so many hobbies that they love to do, whether it's building with Magna-Tiles or Legos. There's so many classes on YouTube on how to draw their favorite cartoon character or a cityscape, a beach, just different things that they can sit and learn to do, and it will help them relax. Because sometimes we need a break. We're living basically in a reality TV show. We're in a Big Brother episode, and sometimes we just want to vote each other off. And we need to go and take these times out. It's so important. We need to learn the skill of knowing, okay, I'm not being my best self right now. I'm being irritable and cranky, and I need to go and relax and do something that helps my body calm down. Yael or Yaakov, if you want to.
I just want to say that, when you think about what are the things that help me calm down, because we all need to find our idiosyncratic things that help us specifically, you want to think about the 5 senses. Because no amount of verbiage and talking is going to help a person calm down. As I'm sure you know that all as parents, when you're trying to get your children to calm down and you're saying, why don't you just calm down? That obviously never works. And also even a spouse, when trying to calm you down using words, it's sort of limited in its ability to help. And so what helps quiet our bodies when they're stormy, and we're feeling upset or angry or impatient and like our whole body is churning, is to think about the 5 senses. So is there something that you can look at that's beautiful, like the painting behind Yael Miller? Is there something that you can listen to? Is there something that you can taste? Is there something that you can feel that's soft or a stone? Or just sort of thinking about the 5 senses and what appeals to you. The other thing in terms of just another strategy that you can use to stay calm is a mindfulness technique. And I'm not going to get too in depth about mindfulness. I'm sure it's like a term that you've heard thrown around, but it essentially means being present and focused in a non-judgmental way. And when we're able to be in the here and now, we often are able to calm ourselves down. And one way of doing that that's very practical is by sitting in a chair and leaning back all the way to the back of the chair and just feeling, doing a body scan where you basically start with your feet and you close your eyes and sort of think about your feet on the grounds and travel your focus up to your legs and sort of feel your legs against the chair, and then your thighs, and then your bottom, and then your back, and sort of feel everything in the chair and feel the heaviness and the weight of your body. And by doing that, you sort of bring your body into a state that's focused on now, and it often helps quiet your nervous system so that it's not firing at full speed like it was, when you had that interaction that just put you over the edge. So those are two strategies: the 5 senses and sort of grounding yourself in a chair that can be helpful.
And just to finish with the mindfulness idea, I think sometimes, especially if we're worked up as we start to do that, we have all sorts of thoughts that pop into our head, particularly about the future. So first of all, I think we could, it's okay that we have thoughts about what's going to happen. My family is struggling financially. What's going to happen after Pesach? Is there ever going to be school again? All those things. Those thoughts are all okay. And if we have them, and even though they might make us feel uncomfortable, they're okay. They're normal. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing that your brain is telling you about these things. It's trying to help you take things into account. So just know that it's normal. And despite the fact that they come up, we don't actually have to answer all of them in the moment. We can actually just be in the moment in the chair, feeling the feelings without resolving all of our problems at any given time. Another, I don't want to call it a technique. I want to call it, let's call it breathing. Breathing is important. I find that sometimes when I'm in a situation that's tense, I notice that I'm feeling tense in my chest, and I say, wait a second, are you breathing? And just taking a moment and say, okay, breathe, not deep breaths, not meditation, nothing. Just say, wait, am I breathing now? Breathing is really important because we need it to live. So when we don't breathe and we don't breathe normally, we start to feel tense, and it causes our whole body to react to as if we're in danger. So if we just take a moment and concentrate on breathing, even normally, not deeply, just breathe, often our bodies get the message, okay, things are okay. Even though I'm not sure what's going to be in the future, things are okay. I'm breathing, that's good, and we might even feel calming down just by focusing on the breathing. Second of all, or third of all, I lost track. What we started off with, Yael Miller said about taking a time out. I think it's really important. And I think it's also important to model that for your kids. I'm not sure if you said this, Yael Miller, but it's important for us to, it's really not just important, it's really cool for us to say to our kids, wow, mommy or daddy is feeling kind of stressed out right now. I need a little break. So I'm gonna take a few minutes for myself. You can go, and again, going back to screen time, maybe you can go watch a few minutes of TV, and modeling for them that when they're feeling stressed, they can actually use those words to communicate that. So there were a couple of things that came up on the chat. One was
right,
routine,
see that two people.
Yeah, and I think that's a really tough question now, especially for people who need the routine for their kids because they still have work. That's really the psychologists. All three of us are still trying to find time in our day to work, which we're all thankful for on some level. On the other hand, it could be complicated when you have children that you're responsible for, especially if you know you're not used to having them in the house. So finding a structure is really important. And I think that finding the structure doesn't mean it's set in stone. It means, okay, these are the times that mommy or daddy can play with you. These are the times that I can't. I actually had a client tell me that when he started working, now that he's working at home, whenever he goes out, his kids would get all excited and want to play with daddy, daddy, daddy. So he made an agreement with them. He said, once in every, whatever the timeline is, it's not set in stone. Again, it's what works for him. Once in every 2 hours, I'm going to come out, and that will be the time for, even if I come out in between, it's at those 2 hours when I come out, we'll spend a few minutes together, we'll sing, we'll dance, we'll do whatever makes you happy. And then during the workday, daddy's going to go back into the office. So he gave them some attention, didn't just ignore them, but and then at the same time had a structure that worked for him. Everybody can set their own structure. Don't be afraid to tell your kids, this time when I come out is part of work, and this time, you know, in the next time I come out, that's when we're gonna get to spend some time together proactively.
For sure. I think it goes back to do we go on social media and do we see what other people are doing? You have to gauge how that makes you feel about yourself and your structure at home. You have to do what works for your family. And if you're in a partnership, some people wrote in questions about being single parents, and that is its own issue. I'm not sure if people are online and would like us to address that or would like to call the hotline to discuss that personally. But if you're in a partnership, you have to create a structure that works for you and your spouse. You might want a super scheduled day, and your partner might not be on board for that, and you might end each day extremely disappointed because of that. So you have to be very, very realistic. What works for me and my spouse, and what works for my family. Yeah,
I also
Rosemary?
like what Yael was saying, routine is sort of in the eyes of the beholder. Routine could be whatever you want it to be, as long as it's sort of follows the same tempo every day, the sort of same feeling, like ebb and flow of the day, that people know what to expect. Like if you want to say there's a certain time that everyone needs to be out of bed by, I would also encourage, in terms of setting up routine, there's a certain time that people need to be dressed by, because all day in pajamas is not good psychologically for anybody. And I think like sort of having the demands of making your bed, getting dressed, accomplishing one task sort of lends itself to then doing the next task. I think when people are sort of letting themselves go, like whenever I get up, whenever I get dressed and start my day, then that's when it gets hard to sort of keep something in place. So I think at a minimum, the time that everybody wakes up and goes to sleep should be some sort of a routine, even if it's totally vacation mode where everyone wakes up at 12 and goes to sleep by 2 o'clock in the morning. At least that's your routine. And I think when routine has become undone, it does take a lot of energy and effort on the part of a parent to put it back in place, I think initially. And the recognition, like looking at yourself and saying, do I have that koach right now? Do I have that in me, like a few days before Pesach, when I'm also trying to get all this other stuff done, to put a routine back in place? The answer might be no, but the answer might also be, but I'm suffering because I don't have it. And if I'm suffering because I don't have it, then the answer might be, okay, let's just figure out how to put a minimum routine into place for now, so that then we can build it over time. And it's hard to sort of talk about this in a general way. We're all available for further consultations to sort of tailor your questions to your specific situation. And we also wanted to say that the hotline is a general number, but you all may have different relationships with any of the psychologists in the psychology department, whether you know us from the neighborhood or you know us through the schools that we work in, and you can definitely request to speak to a certain person. We're more than happy to accommodate like who people would like to speak to. Yeah. So just to sort of close, I think that this is a very hard time for everyone. This is a hard time for us as parents. Our kids are having a really hard time. We're all doing the best that we can. And we're all dealing with ourselves in a very intense way, with the parts of ourselves that we like and the parts of ourselves that we don't like as much. But it's all under a microscope because it's all us all day. And if we could try to eliminate as much of the guilt as we can, that would really be helpful. And just celebrate the successes that we have, and this is successes that our kids have and that our spouses have. We just have to celebrate the heck out of anything that we can celebrate because that's what keeps us going. And if we lose it, it's okay. And let's just apologize.
Right, it's just another opportunity to teach our kids.
After we lose it.
Sometimes you lose it, and sometimes you apologize.
And then we can just remind ourselves that we're going through a really hard time. So thank you for joining us, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much.
Is there anybody who has a final question before we? You could
Okay.
unmute yourself by clicking on it or pushing the
I
space
see
bar.
someone wrote with a family with different ages, and I don't know if we addressed this yet, but I think that it's in that kind of situation, it's a totally reasonable and a good idea to meet with each kid individually and form a schedule for them and have them buy into it. You ask them, what do you think is a reasonable time for you to wake up? What do you think is a reasonable time for screen time each day? And you could even on a Google Doc create a schedule with each kid individually, and they could print it out and they could be responsible for older kids for their own schedule.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. And remember, as we've said, the hotline is available during the Sunday through Thursday, Sunday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we're available for you, and we hope that everybody has a great week left before Pesach, and find time to enjoy, and good luck to everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Alana.